So just to recap, today we've got you obviously after your contacts with Ephrenus and the strange dissolution of the form of Cadrak. You used the power offered to him to make your rendezvous with a Jorman, the water taxi driver who took you to the Deadstones. And there you found on one of the key stones, what appears to be a key stone of this batch of this henge, was a rough imprint of the mirror that, particularly in the case of Squadge, saw that there was an opportunity for this mirror to go into this space to see what would happen. But as you discovered, the actual ring that has been post retrofitted into the mirror by some power impedes the mirror being inserted into it. The implications of the why that had been done, you don't know. But during that time, Filialis originally explored the boundaries of the Deadstones, where you found out that within it, death could not exist. You, in doing so, placed her arm into the space as the tire to take that lead to determine what was within, what power existed within these stones. Only for all of you to come away from this experience with some doubt about your own status, your own existence within this. Particularly, Filialis, you're sort of sitting there on some of these old rocks with your companions, you know, basically thinking about what you have experienced and looking at this body, this hands, which to you is so vibrant and can transition into this other creature that you know full well is alive and vibrant. And yet these stones seem to tell you that you do not live. You are not among the living. You are something else again. You've gathered your thoughts, and you are now sitting there noting that huge hunched over form has moved out of sight from the rise behind the stones, and you've noticed at these two huge dogs, the forms of two huge dogs, have lingered somewhat, and then you see one, the slightly smaller of the two, drifts away a couple of minutes later after observing you, and probably 10 minutes later again, the larger starts to disappear from the apex of this rise. As you look around you, you can see that the Deadstones, there's a natural rise all the way along, where behind the stones it's like a wave of stone goes up to a higher point than the stones themselves, and then appears to drop away into this sort of marshy valley. The land here is much drier than obviously the estuary over here, but it's still a bit marshy along its fringes, particularly where you're sitting. What I'm going to say is, during your conversation, one of you with the help action can make a nature roll to make an assessment of the land around you to work out what is the easiest path to take to get to the point where you saw those creatures disappear off the rise.
I'm looking at my animal companion, thinking that he knows more about nature than,
Yeah.
and not only leading as the not a tire, but more about nature than I ever will.
All right.
Okay. Ooh, you just think you're distracted, Filialis. You're not picking up on it. You pick a path, but you're not sure if it's the right way to go. So now, I leave it with you. What do you want to do? What I will also do is one of you can make a perception roll. This is an abject straight perception roll. If you wish to use any of your advantages, which I currently have Windra as 2 inspirations built up, Filialis with 2, Damien with 2, I think, and Squad spent 1 of the 2 that he had last session.
Yep. Can we get a fix on what time it is, Matt?
It's probably around 11:30 at night. You can see through the gaps of the Black Wharf. You can see a moon, the major moon, is getting close to a higher point.
Well, should we follow the dogs?
Sure.
Okay, so Damien, you're sitting there for a little while, still troubled by everything, and you look holding. At one point, you're just holding the mask, the voice of sleep, in your hand, just staring at it, looking at how innocuous it is. But when you look up from it, you notice out on the water, you still can see that there is a boat is floating off the water about here. So basically about almost 300 feet off, but somebody is there in the darkness. You just catch something, a moonlight maybe reflecting on a little bit of the iron of the boat itself.
I can't make out any identifying details or anything.
No, it doesn't look large. You would automatically assume it's one of the punt style water taxi boats, which are common both in private and commercial use. They're basically a glorified raft, or sort of like marsh punts.
Would we expect it to have a light on it, Matt?
Normally you would. You can actually still see further back, particularly around the Grand Tavern, you can see water taxis are making their regular journeys with a lantern in the prow. Yep. In fact, in the background, when you start thinking about it, you can actually clearly hear music coming from the tavern. But the tavern's really only just started going.
Wow, okay. They've all had their pre-drinks somewhere else, right?
Yeah, they're preloaded. Yeah, they're clubbing now.
That's it.
Okay.
Are there any dry spots where we are, Matt? Or more to the point, are there any dry spots? Can you see where my pointer is?
No, that's still pretty marshy. So basically, wherever you see the sort of grass-like signs, it's pretty marshy.
Okay.
So you need to come further inland to get away from that. So when I say at the moment, where you're walking, you're roughly still about ankle deep in tidal water. Once you get to the edge of the stones and beyond, that water tapers away, where you're still walking through mangrovey sand, weed, but very sparse. It's not overly dense. And at the moment where you are, it would be described as difficult terrain. You probably have to move in the vicinity of maybe 100 foot in before it's completely gone.
Yeah, okay. are we going to go? Sorry, Matt, I did miss. You said this is where the this
Yes.
here is where the
Yep.
sighting was, and
That's
the
right.
easiest way around. Did you say it was the long way?
You suspect that the long way round would be the safest, most predictable surfaces, because when you looked around before, what Filiala saw was that there is a potential sort of walk up, like a ramparty sort of spot here that you could walk up a gap. There's definitely lower ground to get up here and then head back in this direction. You could do that. If you went anywhere sort of further north from this point on, it gets more treacherous. It's more naked rock that's sort of sweating with the humidity of this estuary.
What I'd like to do is sort of move over to this way,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to go with the party or without, but
Yeah.
I'd just like to light a candle in a sheltered area.
Yep.
I'd like to burn up another one of my candles, but just enough that it.
Yep.
Are there any shells or anything that I'll do a bit of a perception roll to look for
Yeah.
some shells or reflective surface?
Yeah, certainly, yeah. Okay.
What is it? More nature, is it?
No, I think you'd be looking for them. You can use whatever is a more advantageous skill at this point.
There we go.
So you walk around. Within a couple of minutes, you find a suitable shell that's flat enough that you can melt a bit of wax from the head of your candle and base it in it. Yeah.
Oh, I was hoping to use the reflective inner surface of the shell just to reflect a bit of light.
Okay.
And
so,
just
yeah.
put it upon this. See this
Yeah.
I guess this rocky
Yeah. Yeah.
wall, or
Yeah.
I'd like to put it there just so that it's sort of reflecting almost towards the boat, but sheltered from as much wind as I can.
Okay. Well, the conditions are actually have settled somewhat from earlier in the day, and you think you're getting close to the tides changing, the weather patterns changing. So you move up to that point just carefully, and you climb up a little bit, and you place the candle based with that shell, the large shell behind it. Now you're directing that light back out, and you see that that light is penetrating out past you and definitely has resulted in some magnification. You've sort of picked up a shell and cleaned it in the water and got it going. That definitely has a pearlescent layer that does create some amplification of the light.
Yeah. It's more so that, when you're looking at something bright, you can't see something behind it.
Yeah, I get you. So you feel that
Just
you've done. You feel that
paranoia.
you have done that in the context of you've definitely created a point of focus. If you're out in a, you're pretty confident now that if you were in a boat that far away, you would think that's where that party has ended up. They've created a light.
Yep.
And in many ways, the reflection of the candlelight makes the candle look much bigger. So it's more perhaps like a small campfire.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm burning through my candles, by the way.
That might become important later. All right, so your candle. So what we'll do, I'll just quickly mark that up. So your candle is here.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So you're sitting there now. You haven't seen those dogs for some time, and gathering your thoughts as to what you're going to do.
Should we follow them? We don't have long until 1.
Okay. Any votes?
I reckon we try and follow him.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, all right. So if somebody wants to give me a bit of a path, moving. Are you heading up to what point? Are you going to that point?
well, far be it from me to say, but I would question if we did anything else.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
not leader. The tire.
Seems reasonable to me.
All right. So your party moves through the stone sort of... Oops, I've still got that going, haven't I? Oh, to that point? All right, good. So you come to the base of that rise and you're looking up. There's some estuary sand, but it's reasonably well compacted. Your boots are now dry. You're moving over dry ground and you're at the foot of that rise. So you're happy to carry on?
Yeah.
Okay. You come around the top, and as you walk around the edges and you move past the base of another one of those titanic sort of pylons that the Black Wharf sits atop, you sort of take the moment to look back across this place. And from this high point, when you look down into the estuary, you see the remnants underwater of foundations. You are looking down on a town sitting under the water from how many thousands of years ago, but you can make out the outline of some buildings, some small, some large. Yeah, there was definitely a town or a city of some kind here at one point. When you get to this, also looking down, you sort of get the impression that the Deadstones themselves at one point were part of a much larger structure, which seems to radiate into the water. Like at some point this was some large building or compound, and it penetrated into the water about to here. You know, as you're walking along, your minds individually are sort of picturing this ancient place, you know, all with very, very biased views on architecture based on where you come from, you know, like, as to how this may have looked. But you move along and eventually get close to the point where you saw the dogs and the bent giant form of the Bent Cur. So I'd imagine you're approaching that carefully as you get to that spot. Okay. So, squad, you start just sticking to the darkest of the shadows and making your way around, taking some care, slowing down to not lose your footing.
Yeah.
I'll try to copy.
Okay. That's almost disadvantage.
Well done for heavy armor.
I know, that's great. You actually do pretty well. And you manage to stop your clinking. Your clinking comes to a stop. But so that was pretty good as you're moving along. In fact, to the point, squad, you're moving along and then suddenly the clinking stops. And in your mind, being a conspiracy theorist, you have this like mental image that some giant hands come down and grabbed it. All right.
He's not really a Thomas.
And Philialis, you're still distracted. You're still distracted, and you're sort of almost wandering on with this sort of disassociation to what's going on, looking back down into that circle of a ruin that has just wrecked your mind. At that point, Philialis, I'm going to ask you to make an intelligence roll for me, just a straight out intelligence roll. Okay. What is tinkering in your head still is, why were these things in the bag that Gassanolt had given you? And another thing that leaps into your mind is there are still items that were there that you still don't know what they are. And perhaps that's an answer. So you are approaching this point. You are doing your best to be quiet and moving forward. Now, what I will say is I'm just going to get... where are we? Why can I not find that? Sorry, I have neglected to get Windra opened. So I will do that. And Windra, again, is like the rest, is following along, making more noise than Filialis. So come forward. All right. Now, given that, Squadge, you are most definitely the lightest on your feet and the quietest, so you would have the opportunity to move forward to that point.
Yeah, I do, and I'd like to do investigation along the way, just to
Okay.
really check out footprints and
Yep. Okay.
what it is that I can see.
All right. So you
Dog food.
you find prints in this still wet, damp ground from the condensation. However, it's not really your forte to make a determination on what they are. You know they're there. And it's you know that the tire is probably the best place to make that assessment than you are.
Oi, noisy man, noisy girl. Oi. What does this mean?
All right.
What have we got here?
So, can you give me a survival roll, please, with those tracks, Filialis?
Sort of thing.
Ooh, it's not going well. Filialis.
Don't know. I meant these ones.
So, Filialis, you look down, and to you, you're struggling. There's a mixture. There's large. You can see a couple of large canine prints. You mixed with a large foot. Like there are definitely large, sort of not booted feet. And when you look down, you can't make out the shape properly in the way that the moss and the mangrove growth have sort of sponged back up in the time that you've been gone. But however, Damien, you're at the back. Give me a perception roll from your point of view.
Can I guide myself?
Of course you can.
Alright. Perception.
Yep. Okay, so roll your guidance. Oh yeah, definitely.
16.
What you notice is, because you find this interesting because you're not used to it from where you come from. You come from a warm, humid place. Like this environment is quite comfortable to you. But what you notice and what you point out to your companions is around the footprints of this dog, these large dogs, it's like the plants have been affected by frost. It's not necrotic, it's frost damage. And when you point that out to Filialis, coming from a much colder place, Filialis, you now see what Damien sees. It's like wherever these dogs have stepped, there is frost damage.
So we've got some cool dogs, but in the temperature sense.
All right. So where you're standing, so you basically move forward to that point where you've been examining these prints. As you look down behind you, down the rise, you see there's a slightly flattened bit towards the center, and it's like a terrace which sits in front of what appears to be the opening of a cave. The odd thing that you notice is that there aren't many trees here, but there are some trees there. But you notice that one of them looks like it's recently fallen. Okay.
I, do you think this is a sign?
Perhaps the dogs have gone in there. But from what we can see, it might be a bit cold in there.
Well, that's all right. I still have some things to keep us warm.
I got some torches.
Alright. Well, let's go then.
All right. So, can someone give me a little bit of a plan? Where are you heading? Are you walking down that point from the high point? Like, are you going to walk along the edge? So, are you thinking of heading along this rim and then going down to this point? Climbing down to that terrace? Or are you thinking of coming at it from behind? Like, back up here?
Well, which way seems safer?
Coming from behind would seem to be safer, but probably take longer. If you climb down, you could possibly get to the terrace from the lower point and come up. But it's completely up to you. There seems a slight risk of climbing down. But if you came from the rear, you would be in clear view coming down the hill, or the ramp sort of hill down towards the cave opening. The one thing about the trees to the estuary side is that they may offer you cover.
Is there like a wind or a breeze in any particular direction?
Yeah, roll a d8 for me, mate. That will tell you.
Great.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3. The wind is coming from roughly this direction. From the east.
Right. Seeing as there's dogs involved, I think it might be good to approach from downwind, so that it doesn't smell us.
Yep. Okay, so then the path you've chosen is to climb down and come from the west, where you're downwind. Yeah?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. All right. So you move forward, creeping along this edge, keeping what am I doing? I'm moving the wrong thing. Creeping along the edge here. One of you can make a perception roll with the help action, because you're all just focusing on this cave to see if there's any movement.
I can do it and guide
Yep.
myself.
Okay.
Well, hang on. Do I need both my hands?
Sorry. For what?
Do I need both my hands for while we're climbing across?
You wouldn't have done it at this point. This is before you start to climb down.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
Right.
fine.
It's perception, yes.
Yep. Okay. So 15. You're watching. You can see nothing in the very dull light, but you
Well,
can
it's,
see nothing.
Wasn't it with help? So be.
Oh, sorry.
18.
Yeah, no. So, yeah, 18. But even so, just recognizing you see nothing, but you are very appreciative of how poor the light is here. It's so much darker.
Okay.
But you're confident nothing is there watching you.
Alright, let's move.
Okay. All right, you come to the edge. Who is going down? There's like a series of footholds that you can get yourself down. It's not a dramatic fall, but there will be some risk to climbing down this way.
I guess the tire should lead from the front, I guess.
Okay, go ahead.
What check did you want?
In this particular case, it's how you're planning on getting down. If you are climbing down and trying to climb your way down slowly, it would be more of an acrobatics or athletics roll, depending on the method. If you're going to try and hold your way down, or if you're going to try and jump down, pick the right spots, whatever suits you.
I'm trying acrobatics.
Okay, so a 10, but you climb down, but Filialis, you almost don't make it. So to tell you all, the DC is 9. It's not highly complicated, but you see that Filialis at one point almost slips on the way, but you are now down the bottom. Who's next?
I'll go.
Oh, I'm happy to go. I'm just hoping I get a bonus from.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, you'll be fine. You can do this at advantage. Yep. Yep, you get down. Again, but it wasn't easy, even with your experience. You get to the bottom and you're looking at Filialis and thinking to yourself, you got lucky. That was just luck that you got down. All right, so it's either Windra or Damien.
I'll go last. I'll let Winder go first.
Okay. So Windra will start climbing down. Let me just double check what the most advantageous element is for her. Well, definitely acrobatics. Oops, sorry, I pressed the wrong thing. Acrobatics. No, she gets to a point and slips. Now, Filialis and Squad, you're at the base. You can take the risk of injury to try and help arrest her fall as she slips down. Sort of like her storm cloak catches a little bit on a mangrove and her foot slips out slightly and she starts sliding down with a sort of face towards the rock wall down a smoother section. Up to you guys. One of you can do it.
Sure.
Oh, both of you are doing it. Who's doing it?
I'm happy to.
All right.
All right. So, Squad, you stand forward trying to help her. Make an athletics roll for me. The DC is 13 to see whether or not you can actually arrest her fall. No. So you just grab it. She slips through your hands and comes sliding down to the bottom. Could someone roll a D20 for me and try not to roll a 20, please? Okay, so that's fine. She fell over, so that's what? Oh, so lucky. 3 points. So Squad, in some ways you did arrest the fall, but she falls down and sort of lands on her knee, and it causes some considerable pain. All right. So she climbs up from the ground. The noise isn't as loud as you thought, and it's probably because of the noise from the tavern, which you can still hear. You know, the flute, the lute's playing. So in many ways, it's masking the noise that you're creating. However, I will make a roll. Nothing stirs. All right, Damien. You've just watched Windra tumble down the side of this hill. Okay.
Alright, I better get down there quick then.
Okay.
Just before I go, I like rub my hands, kind of blow into them,
Yeah.
cast guidance on myself. Um,
Quick prayer. There you go. Brilliant.
I'm going to use athletics instead,
Okay.
and just kind of
Try and climb your way down properly.
yeah.
Okay. So
I'll do it
you're
anyway.
you get down easily. You climb down quite efficiently, drawing on your experience climbing in the hills at home, and you jump down to the bottom. All right.
When I get down, can I
Yeah.
just like kind of assess Windra's any serious injuries? See if I can like.
She's not seriously injured, but it's more bruising. It's concussion damage from the
Okay.
fall. So structurally she's okay, but she's not. Let me think. What is she normally? She's not bloodied yet from a mechanical point of view, but she isn't that far away.
Well, not much I can do, unfortunately.
Okay.
Making sure it won't get worse. Anyway,
No worries. So you move forward. So you basically are about here at the base of this rise. You start climbing up. I will let one of you make a perception roll, but not at advantage as you start climbing up, because you're climbing up to this thing. Through there are the trees and things.
I'm happy to climb up.
Yep. Okay.
Let me take this.
All right. So you're going to go up first. Squadge, as you... Oh, you sort of skip your way up the top, like grabbing hold of tree roots. One of the things that you notice is that as you climb up, the humidity that you hate. I mean, you're from the northwest, right? As well, like from the fringe folds, and the humidity seems to taper away after about 50 feet. Your companions behind you are climbing up much more slowly, right? You get to this point where you put your hand on the trunk of a tree like a branch and knot to help pull yourself up, and it feels cool to the touch. And as you start getting closer, the thing that you notice, make a nature roll for me. Oof. It's not your strength, but one thing you do know is that these trees that you moved up into aren't right for here. There's something going on here, and you move up, but the air becomes cooler. And by the time you stop to wait for your companions to join you, you can actually see your breath.
I'd like to use a rope and just put a rope down.
Yeah, okay. So you tie a rope off? Right.
I'm assuming I've got a rope.
You tell me.
I got some if needed.
I missed. Sorry.
I got rope if you need it.
Good to know before I started climbing, my friend. Here we are. No, I do. I have a rope.
Is that one of those exchanges? Like you're up there and like David's going, Squatch, I've got some rope. And you're like at the top going,
Yeah, I've got rope. I've got a
Okay.
hempen rope.
All right. So you're
So we'll
chucking
use
that
that.
down?
Yeah.
All right, so you throw that down, so your companions would have advantage, and without second story work, they would be able to move up at the same basic pace, using the rope to secure them. So the rest of the party, you all make your way up, and you arrive at the in amongst these trees and feel the same experience of the cold that you saw before. For you, Damien, this is quite uncomfortable. You've been with the knot for a while. You've been in some areas where you've gotten colder, but the knot has never really... You've been in Hadring's Anvil once, where the knot is based, right? All right. So, sorry, Squadge is typing something. So, yes, no, Hadring's Anvil is the easternmost element of the Kingdom of Azur, and it sits at the north of the Fringe Holds. And your knot sort of chapter house is based there, the Anvil Hall. Right. So, I like that though, Hadrick's Anvil. That's good, actually. Maybe that's what you call it, Hadrick's Anvil.
That's Squadge. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hadrick's
basically,
Anvil.
you have arrived at the base of this place. So I'm going to move you over.
Do we want a torch lit up?
Yeah, that's something you can think about doing if you want. Sorry.
Do we want to draw attention or do we want heat? That's my dilemma.
Yeah, okay. Come on, move for me. Okay. Okay. So you've emerged from this unusual clusters of trees. As you walk along, you can see that these trees are quite ancient, like very ancient, to the point where you would describe them as senescent and yet they are still alive. When you look, they're generally fruit trees. Like there's walnut here, like you're moving past walnut, and that was the tree that Squadge, when it's pointed out to you by one of your party members that it's a walnut tree, that's what you were trying to think of the tree you were holding on to the knot of. You know, that this actual branch. There are ancient apples. And it's strange that they shouldn't be here, and they seem to be growing very well. Okay. All right.
Should we announce ourselves? Or should we come in quietly?
We'll stay quiet maybe for a little bit.
Okay. So, oh, hang on a minute. I've got the wrong token here. Give me 1 second. This is from when I completely misjudged Tom's token. I'll just go and get that. Give me 1 sec.
Do we want to light a torch? I got a couple.
I've got one.
I think, good friends, whatever is here may have more power than we have combined.
We'll try and be peaceful about it then.
You say again?
Just trying to be peaceful about it. I have one first level spell slot, so we should not fight if it comes to
Okay.
it.
Sorry about that. I'll be right back with you. One second. Wrong one. All right. Right. Okay. So, what are you doing? Are you lighting torches? Are you... What's the plan?
I don't think I will just yet.
Okay.
I might.
Okay.
But I'm gonna be cool and light it using prestidigitation instead of match.
Okay. So you're just going to make it erupt. Fair enough.
Well, not like subtly.
Yeah. Just
not-
blow a bit of flame onto it. Away you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I will just set that up. Give me 1 second.
I also can't see in the dark, so it might help.
It would. Yes, you're right. And okay. So your lantern light, your torch lights up. Okay. Right. You have a rock formation in front of you here, which, when you look at it, it's collapsed badly, but it looks like at one point it was a building of some form, like maybe even a guardhouse. Yep. You did take the time. You did technically have a short rest before you moved on.
No, that was misclicked.
Yep. So if you do want to do that, you can. If you'd like to reset from a short rest of anything.
No, I'm all
Okay.
good.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is, I think, so we get a bit of a plan going, is putting you into turn order. Give me an initiative roll. Okay. Let's get Windra done. Okay. All right. So, light hands, based on dex, you are first.
I decide there is no point being stealthy due to my compadres.
Yep.
I'm going to go.
All right. To that point, so you move forward, Squad. You cart this rock, and as you get close, you see that at one point there would have been a fine wooden frame and lintel amongst these rocks, and you see stone that looks like it perhaps would have formed a chimney at some point. This was definitely like a guard's billet box, but perhaps with space for people to stay. You peek inside, there is a cavern there. You can see there's some signs of animal existence in there, you know, some fresh sort of stool, that kind of thing. but nothing that looks dangerous in any way as you creep around the side. The thing that becomes apparent to you from where you are now is you can actually see the tree that's been cut down, and it looks fresh. Like you can even at this point, in the little bits of moonlight that are getting through the black wharf above you, you can see the glint of what seems to still be fresh sap exuding from the stump. Okay. Filialis.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. So, about here.
Yep. So you creep around to the side, you watch Squadge head off to your right, and you go around the northern side of this rock, just keeping the rock between you and where you are working under the assumption the entrance is.
Yeah.
As you walk up, Filialis, you look ahead of you and you can see vaguely like terracing in the ground, and you
Yep.
realize this is not natural. This was built. You're looking at almost like the terraces of perhaps what once would have been some sort of fortifications wall. But
About how high would each terrace be?
each one would probably be about 10 foot high.
Alright.
So as you come forward, you look at this, and this was not built in a human format. It wasn't built this way. Nothing that you've seen built. You know, you've seen some pretty extensive fortifications, particularly in Hadrig's Anvil, which is probably the biggest fortress in Azure. And you've seen nothing like this before. Okay. All right, Damien.
I'm just gonna keep up
Yep.
my not tire.
Yep. So you're moving. Yep.
I'm also going to harness divine power. I'm gonna turn my use of channel divinity into a spell
Mhm.
slot,
Okay, great.
just preemptively.
So your proficiency bonus is what?
2. So
Okay.
just the first.
Yep, no worries. So you get to that point, carrying the torch, and of course Windra will follow you. So Windra will come up, but 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. She'll creep up behind Squadge on the side there. Still limping slightly from her previous fall. All right, so give me a second. Okay. Right. Squadge.
What type of tree is it, Matt?
You can make a nature roll for me, but at advantage. Now you've got your eye in a bit.
There we go.
Yeah. You've heard told that because you came from the Achencrest Peninsula, right, of Azure, originally. You lived in a place called Boar Market when you were very young. And you remember that the tree that has fallen is called a warwood. It was a tree that was grown particularly for the wood that it offered to make bows, shields. It could be hardened. It was flexible. It's a tree that grows on that peninsula, but to the north, in the territories that people would tell you in the tavern when you were younger that they were that in the Black Elf realm, on those fringes. So those cutters that would do that, they would go out from a place called Brighaven in the north of Azure, and they were like dashes. They would go in quickly with a couple of carts. They'd take a few of these trees and bring them back, and the wood was worth a lot. Take a long time to grow.
Got it.
Okay.
I'm going to motion to Windrad to not follow me, but to go in another direction.
Give me a performance roll to try and convey the fact that you're being sincere about her well-being and not your own. Right. This is about you. This is about you. Right. And she acknowledges that she understands that. Uh-oh. All right. Hello.
Well, sorry about that. Some activity in a black hole somewhere.
Okay. So you're back. You're moving. Okay.
Just to there. I think I've used my time doing
Yeah.
other things, so I haven't got any other actions.
Now, are you still using stealth, or you're moving without stealth at the moment?
Without stealth.
Okay. No worries.
And I'm deliberately not trying to hide myself,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
At that time, as you move forward, you are looking up towards the actual cleft. You can make out the cave opening here. And you watch as one of those giant dogs walks out onto the rampart. And standing there, and you can see it, like neck extending. But the wind, the direction of the wind is baffling it. Its ears cock slightly, and then it relaxes slightly. And you watch Squadge as it starts doing that circling dogs do if they're going to settle down. You're confident at the moment it's not aware of you. Now, the remainder of you all cannot see that dog. You've got no idea it's there. Oh, actually, no, Filialis, you would have a chance of seeing it. So, give me a perception roll.
Maybe smelling it, even.
Yeah, possibly. Oh, no, you actually do make it out. As you're creeping around the edge of this old stone building, you see it saunter out. But you lose sight of it for a while, but then you step back and then step forward. It's difficult to see through the boughs of this fallen tree. But eventually you see it, and you see it start to do the circle of settling down. Are you there, Ben? Is this new computer letting us down?
Yeah, I'm just having trouble driving it.
Ben, is this technology beyond you? I don't know if Caleb's rubbing his face because he's tired or he's just amazed that these old men can make these mistakes all the time.
Both.
All right. So, Filialis, you are now also aware this creature is there.
Yes.
You know you have the advantage of the wind direction, so you're still well aware that easterly breeze is still going quite reasonably because the tide is starting to go out and the breeze is going with it.
Okay. I think what I want to do is I want to so just to clarify, it's sort of like there's that tree that's there. It's
Yeah.
sort of like on the other side of the tree to me.
Yeah, so basically you're here. The
Yeah.
tree is obscuring your vision, but you can see that the movement in the moonlight of the dog. You're really seeing more its outline rather than the dog itself.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Just sort of kind of press as much as I can against the
Wall?
side of the
Yeah.
wall.
Yep, definitely. So, like, basically, anything looking for you would be at disadvantage. If anything attacked you at the moment from that direction, you would have full cover, right?
Yeah.
So, I will make a roll. I'm going to roll 2d20, a 14 and a 16 at disadvantage. So, the dog sort of ears perk up slightly and its head turns. But the wind is carrying the noise away and you have moved to that point. But you realise, Filialis, as you're looking up in the darkness, that if getting closer would require greater finesse than what you've just done for it not to be detected. Right. Damien, you are like Harry in Tom, Dick and Harry and the Combine Harvester. You have no idea what's going on. All you know is that you have watched Filialis sort of drop and dodge and run across to that spot with some abandon but caution, obvious caution. And your light
So
is, your torch is, strangely enough, as your companions just realise that that key moment is not attracting attention.
so there is a bit of tension that I can sense.
Yeah. But your torchlight, you come to a realisation, is not part of it.
Okay. I forgot what I counted. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So I will go here.
Okay.
Am I picking up anything?
All right, let me have a look. Let's see what you can see. You can barely make out this form. Like, all you see is like the peak of 2 ears. And that's only because at that time you hear a rumbling up above you. And you can see up in the wharf above you, in the gaps between the planking, you see what looks to be a large wagon moving over that was clearly well lit. There's a couple of lanterns lighting, and the lights for that moment bathes down just for that second and outlines the dog here. You look at it, Damien, it's the size of a small horse.
Where is it again? I didn't see.
Yeah.
I'm not getting a ping, so
You may have to zone out a bit.
show off. I'll get there when I get there.
Okay.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Jeez.
All right.
No wonder I could barely see it. Righto.
All right.
Yep. Quick question.
Yep.
Does it smell like wet dog in here?
Sorry. Does it smell like wet dog?
Well, they're frosty dogs, so...
Yes, I think it's a reasonable question. I think yes, you would detect. There's the scent of these dogs is here.
Like, in a way to which this is a long-standing scent. Like, they're here a lot.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So Windra, 10, 15, 20, 25. Windra will creep across to here in the light that's been created by the torch. Similarly, becoming a little bit perturbed by the fact that this creature is not reacting to the light. So she looks at that as she comes over from the start of her turn, and clearly that doesn't really give her any great insight, and neither does nature. Windra comes up towards you. She looks back at Damien and she says to you, in that sort of accent the Stormborn have, "It's like it doesn't care we're here." Okay.
You know? Do a little something.
Sure.
Let me just see how far away I can do it. Or, actually, might not do it just yet.
Okay. Sorry, the
As
turn
in-
order is not to limit your action. It's really more about your movement at the moment.
Yeah, it's more of how we're positioned.
Okay.
Is not a deal.
All right. So, Squadge, now any movement for you from now on is fundamentally in the open. Unless you double back to the rocks here, perhaps, or try and get over to the rocks here, or the stump. The stump and the trunk, you could probably take a hiding position there.
I'm going to take a casual walk, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, just here.
Mm-hmm. So you're not taking any attempt to hide. Okay.
None.
All right. So as you move forward, the dog doesn't seem to react to you. You move forward and you can see its ears twitch from its sort of sleeping position, but it makes no move towards you. Okay.
Matt, just as an action, I'd like to investigate or perceive a way up. Just have a bit of a look around to see
Yeah, sure.
how's the dog actually arrived up there.
Sure. Okay. You are confident that the space behind it is a cave opening. You think it's emerged from the cave.
Oh, sorry. I meant how to scale up those walls? Is there
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sure. So at the foot here.
an easy crevice, or is there a rope that gets thrown down that's pittened somewhere in the wall, or
Something large could get up these spaces reasonably quickly. Right? So something as large as that, those dogs could probably jump to each height. This height would be difficult, though. It would be a bit of a challenge. The shape of the Bent Cur that you saw was probably, your best estimate would say the Bent Cur was probably about 7 to 8 foot tall, bent over. So you don't really know how easily it could climb up to this point. Your perception roll will tell you the ground around that you can see does not look affected, doesn't look like there's a step. Definitely this is the highest point of access into the opening, and obviously this point down here is the lowest point to get to this terrace, with roughly a 6 or 7 foot step here. Okay. Filialis, in your nook that you have for yourself.
Well, I think I will shift into my lesser form.
Can you do that? Has it been? How often can you do that?
Well, when was I?
It's still within the same day that you've put
Oh,
in
right.
it before. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Cool. That's fine then. It's, sort of,
I'm glad you're that sure of that.
just move here,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think I'll actively sort of hide behind that small
rock?
rock and the
Yep.
dog.
Okay. So you move to that point. Your action is to hide. Yep. So you pull
Yeah.
yourself in, your small form behind up against this rock, and you're looking back towards Squadge, who is just standing, leaning, like fingers sort of touching the sap of this tree that's recently been cut. When you look at that tree, by the way, Filialis, both you and Squadge, coming from the Azure territories and the fringes, know about, you know a bit about tree lopping and that kind of thing. There's a lot of it, shipbuilding, things like that. This tree was felled with one blow. There's no chipping.
All right.
All right. So you are in that position, Damien.
Keep it up.
Okay. So you get to that point. I will make another roll here. Damien, you arrive at that point, and you stand there and you see the dog gets up. You look around and you can see, reflecting in the light of the torch, like these blue eyes, not the red of a normal eye. Make a medicine roll for me. These dogs are blind.
Mm-hmm.
Or this one
Right.
is.
I was going to test that anyway, so
Mm.
now I don't need to.
But you can definitely tell in the
Um,
reaction that these dogs do not see in that sense. But you are now confident that it now sees you with its senses the way it would.
Can I try and see if it's friendly or if it doesn't? Not a fan of us.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get a read on its body language.
All right. What are you doing?
Just trying to read its body language.
Give me an animal handling roll. See what you can pick from that.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Nice.
All right.
Oh,
I got surprisingly high animal handling.
It's you look at this dog and you think it's sitting like at a trigger point in relation to your actions. It's alert and now in a defensive posture, but not an aggressive one.
Okay. I do not know how to communicate that. How many people can I connect with at once?
And at that point, while you're looking, you see the second one emerges from the cave.
Same eyes?
Same eyes, but this one looks a bit bigger, maybe a bit older.
Alright.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
yeah, just making sure my own body language, well, they can't see me, but I'm just trying to give off positive vibes, you know?
Positive vibes. All right. Give me a wisdom roll. Trying to give off a vibe. Okay. So you're
I will,
yeah, go ahead.
which one do I have prestidigitation and thaumaturgy, so I don't know which one does what. I have to keep reading them.
What I'm going to say is while this is going on,
I just want to
Windra's
make
crept around.
myself kind of smell nice, that's all.
Okay.
So
With
try to make myself smell nice.
thaumaturgy, you're going to make yourself smell like an
I think
inoffensive dog
it's-
treat.
Yeah,
Right.
like prestidigitation I think is the one I have to use.
Right.
Yeah, doesn't really matter. Anyway,
Okay.
yeah, I'm just trying to make myself smell friendly in a dog way.
In a dog way.
I don't know how,
All right.
I don't know how to do that, but yeah.
So what I'm going to do...
what does friendly smell like to a dog?
Who knows? All right. So I am
See how that goes.
going to... Why is that not working? Some of the apps aren't working at the moment, but that's okay, given the heat and such. All right. The two dogs are now in the initiative order at the end of the turn, but not necessarily to act. Right. All right, so... Oh, that's weird. It's now sorted Filialis and Light Hands round the other way. That's weird. We'll put that back to the way it was. Right. Squadge. You're up.
I am just going to take some time to lean up against the tree that's been felled.
Yep.
I'm going to take out my small knife
Yep.
and some camp rations and just have a little bit of a munch.
All right. So you're just grabbing your gear out, trying to look relaxed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm doing the casual thing, and I'm going to do that with a bit of a performance too,
Okay,
just in
go
case.
Go
I'm
ahead.
going to start the performance now.
Okay.
Okay.
When the second dog appeared, you formed this plan of what you're going to do. Then the second dog appeared, and that gave you a little bit of the yips. So it's not your strongest performance and not your most natural performance, and yet it still has happened. So
But I, as a good method actor, I make no. I don't try to hide it.
No.
I try to bring it into my act.
Oh, right.
Oh.
Okay. So you're dragging it in. Okay. So, all right. I will say to you that I will give you, if you want, you can make another performance roll but you would do so at disadvantage if you want to modify your act.
Yeah, I'm that kind of guy that likes to roll the dice.
Okay. Oh, so it didn't quite go as well as you planned. So you're sort of spilling a bit of your rations onto the stump. It didn't quite work out the way that you would hope.
Yeah.
You see the older of the two dogs, like, looks down at you, and and their head turns a little bit, and the ears focus on you, and it takes in a large breath, and you see that it moves forward slightly towards the edge and stands on the edge, sort of looking down in that direction if it could see, but it's focusing its senses in that direction.
It's all right. It can just smell friendly.
All it's doing is smelling inoffensive and friendly. All right. Philly Alice.
Hmm. I think what I want to do. I think I'll move
Mm-hmm.
to here.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'll call out the dog.
Yeah. All right.
Now that I've put some distance between me and them, I'm like, and they seem kind of chill.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna, yeah, just sort of wave and say
Yep.
hello.
Okay, so drawing your attention to them. You see you see the large one at the front's ears turn round, and you see now that they have no difficulty on focusing on you. So, like, the head points directly in that point. And you notice for the barest instant, Filialis, like, the hackles come up a little bit, and you see at the time the hackles come up, like a shimmer comes over its form and it becomes blurred. And then it dissipates slightly. And you do that, and you see that it effortlessly jumps down to the next terrace and lands. And you see the one at the top retreats back, gets up and goes back into the cave. And it's just standing there looking at you. Right. Damien.
Where am I? I'm gonna see if I can skip past. Pop over here. That's as far as I can go. I'm gonna dig through my rations, try and find some like jerky or something,
Okay.
and I
So
will.
You've got rations out. You're looking at making an offering too. So Squad has got food there.
Yeah, but I'm going to use prestidigitation again
Mm-hmm.
to says I can make it taste better.
Okay.
I'm gonna try and combine that a bit with the try and make the smell more potent as well.
Yeah, sure. So like you can make it like horrendously appealing to a dog.
Yeah, that is the plan.
Yep.
And then technically I wouldn't be able to do this now, but I am planning to use Mage Hand to
Deliver it. Okay. So your plan is to do that on your next turn. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I wanted
So-
to get a little bit closer. But yes.
All right. So is that Mage Hand going to be a held action, or are you going to wait and see how things pan out?
Well, technically my action was doing the flavoring,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I'd like to make the offering.
Okay.
So I suppose I would hold it, but
All right. Windra takes the opportunity 5, 10, 15. She is still unsure about what everybody is trying to achieve here, and creeps to that point behind the stone. And she signals to you two by the stump that she's going that way very carefully. Moves forward to not create a tension. Okay. All right. Squadge, we're back to you.
Okay. Now, I'm going to give my animal handling a bit of a role here.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm trying to convey that I'm not a threat. You know, I'm happy to, kneel down a little bit and sort of push myself on the side to show that I'm not taking any defensive nor aggressive posture.
Yep. Okay. You do that quite well. So you're in a position where you are making yourself as non-threatening in that perspective as you can. Are you moving? Are you doing anything else?
No, I'm happy to take myself almost as prone in that point, kneeling down. I mean, not lying down, but,
Yep.
a little bit of time to get up.
Okay.
But no, I mean, that's really all I'm doing. I don't think I need to move anywhere.
Okay. No, fine. All right. Philly Alice.
Okay. So I'm gonna grab a ration
Mm-hmm.
from my bag.
Yep.
A meaty one,
Meaty ration. Good. All right. Fair enough.
and I'm just gonna go half the way, and I'm gonna just sort of hold it out to see if it wants to come the other half.
All right.
For
So
the
basically, that's about half a week's food from a rations pack if you're pulling all the dried meat out and stuff.
Oh. maybe just like a like a little sort of like morsel.
Yep, enough to
Dog
attract
eating
something.
food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, because you
Like a
don't.
jerky.
Yeah, you don't particularly want to be left with like the dried almonds and stuff, just for the rest of the fortnight. Yeah. So you grab that out and you move forward to that point. Are you throwing it, or you're holding it? Are you trying to entice the dog?
Well, I'm just holding it to see if it
Offer
will
it. All right.
respond.
Okay. Now this will be at disadvantage. So All right. You see that this huge dog stands up. And it's a combination of the aroma from the food that Squodge put out, the enhancement from the prestidigitation or thaumaturgy of the food that Damien has offered. And it jumps down from the side. But it jumps to the bottom and then stops and looks up. So Filialis, the head of this thing is about 5 foot above your head. Like, this thing is big. Right? As it leaps down to you. It's like you're looking at a horse from your perspective. And it stops and it looks at you, but you can see it's enticed. You notice its mouth opens. Make a perception roll for me. Okay. I'm going to give you advantage here because you're so close. When its mouth opens, you can see before, when Damien pointed out to you that things have been burnt with frost. It is frost. It is frost, but it is a frost of ancient times. The passage of time is coming through this animal's mouth. Make an insight roll for me, please. In fact, all of you can. All of you can make an insight roll, apart from Windra, who can't really see what's going on. Okay, so Squodge. All right. So what I'm going to say is Squodge first, but Caleb, I think between the two of you, I'm going to give the 21 because the two of you are standing together when this situation happens. So it's like the help action, and you suddenly realise this dog has not eaten real food in a long, long, long time.
This isn't like a gremlin situation, is it?
But it's bizarre. It's not dead. It's not alive. It's in between. And it's just so... It's so compelled to this thing that would have been so important to it in life. And it's sort of at that point when the pair of you sort of realise, as Filialis is holding this up and you're watching this giant thing bearing down on your tyre, is that nothing would have ever come here before and offered food if it ever saw these things. They would have left in fear. They would have, those things would have happened. Nothing would have come here and offered it something to eat. Because you've heard it. You heard it on Bedroll Isle. Oh, someone's seen the Bent Cur. All the beachcombers are coming off. They told you when they left. There have been sightings of the Bent Cur. No one's ever stayed when the thing's been seen. So at this point, you're watching your diminutive yet strong companion at the foot of this thing as it's moving forward towards food. The thing you don't know from your insight into this situation is, what does it perceive as the food?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it has moved forward 5 feet towards you. But in this point, Filialis, it stops. But you're watching the cold come out of its mouth. And you can see it. It's the same feeling of the cold you felt when your arm was within the boundary of the Deadstones. Okay. Damien, you're up.
Yep, I'm gonna do what I was planning on doing.
Yep.
I will get. Yep. I'm fairly confident.
Yep.
Based off my animal handling earlier, that I got a read on this
Yep.
dog, I suppose.
Okay.
And then I'll cast Mage Hand, and for the rest of the distance, we'll
Okay. So
kind of-
your mage hand drifts over with this food.
I
And
kind of like waft it around its nose first, so it knows it's there, and then
okay. So you see Felialis for a moment, this fixed blind stare shifts and the head turns slightly and this food arrives and you can see it, the nose leans forward. At that time, behind you, you see the other dog emerges from the opening slightly and you can see its nose is up too. It's obviously smelt this magically enhanced offering.
Also,
Yeah,
side note,
yeah.
does it seem to reactable to the heat of the torch?
You notice as the head moves towards the food, you can see the heat and the radius of the torch seems to be clearing the blindness from its eyes.
Alright.
The fog seems to be lifting. Okay.
Does it take my offering?
You can see that it, as it moves towards its mouth, it snaps down at it. Like your mage hand sort of like disrupts in this force of this jaw. But you notice as the cryogenic sort of form of cold, you see a bit of it goes down its gullet and you watch as the rest of the food, the meat, freezes and then shatters in its jaw. And you can see it sort of like shakes its head, like almost with like a rage, not at you or the people around you, but the food. Like for that moment, that morsel went down its neck. I will get you all to make a perception roll as that happens. Okay. All right. So I will say all three of you have seen this. You notice that when that mouthful of food goes down, before that rage starts to come in place, you notice that for the briefest instant, there's like a change in the physical form of the thing, like an image overlaying on it. And you see what seems to be the trappings of armor, and that reflects in some ways the moonlight from its own darkness. It's bizarre. And you have like the outline of a very large humanoid almost trapped in this form just for that second. And you see as the food dissipates, the blindness reasserts itself, and that image in your minds of that form of this like titanically built humanoid form trapped in this body dissipates. You make out, like for a minute there, you are absolutely certain you saw on its chest what looked to be a breastplate of heavy armor with what looked to be a circle of some form on the front in a light color, which dissipated so quickly as its form transmuted the thing that you had offered in food to its own frigid existence and dimension.
The kind of circular symbol seem familiar at all?
You can make a history roll, but at disadvantage, and the DC is high.
Well, I'll try it, but it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
No. You what I'm going to say is, because of the 18, if it had been an advantage, in the back of your head there is something twigs like that simple circle. It's there somewhere. In fact, I'll get all of you to make a history roll to see if the three of you to see whether or not anything you picked up from that. Obviously, Damien has done his squatch. Yeah. History.
What's history?
Yeah. What's history? Yeah. Billy Ellis. Billy Ellis. All you can think of is the one thing that does come to mind is when Squadge found the indented sort of point in the Deadstones for the mirror, you did notice that there were a lot of very simple circles inscribed on a lot of those stones. Okay. So, yep.
Oh, I was gonna ask. I want to try something. If it's alright.
Sure.
I also, side note, I also made a realization with my like mind link thing.
Yeah.
I can speak to anyone I want.
Yeah.
It's just I can only give another person the ability to speak back to me. I can only do that with one person.
Oh,
But
okay.
me speaking to other people is unlimited. So I thought it was
Okay.
I can only do it to one.
Okay. Great.
On that note, I want to try and give that ability to this dog. See if I can speak with it
Okay.
telepathically.
All right.
Because there's possibly a
Okay.
semblance of something humanoid in there. So let's see if I
Alright.
can reach that.
So you pass that on, and what I will say to you is, if you had done this before your group experiences at the Deadstones, you are confident you have gotten nothing. But given your experience with the voice of sleep when you were wearing it, your experiences with Father in your mind, when you cast this, and in the back of your mind, you have the same fear that Filialis shared with you, that you were dead. All of you were dead, and that's why you were here. And you realize that your link goes through, and you hear a voice responding to your voice, your own link. And that is only because in your mind, when you sent it, it came from the perspective of, I am gone and so are you. Move forward. Yeah, so this link forms in your mind. So what I'm going to say is that we'll move through, and Windra sort of just creeps forward that little bit more to keep in mind, and is preparing herself should something go awry. All right, so the link that you're getting, Caleb, is Damien, is not from the perspective of you, it's from the perspective of the dog. So you're seeing like a view across a valley, like a beautiful pristine valley, and you on this unimaginably tall battlements where this view's coming from. And you can see as the vision, the eyes look down, these blind eyes that are drawing on a memory. You can see that as they look down, they look across, and you can see these other forms, like obsidian forms, along these battlements. Incredibly long. They disappear into the distance, and you can see like a vague curve in them. And you realise that this is an enormous battlement of an enormous fortification. You see the one near you is like, think of like plate, but plate and shield with enormous spears. But what you notice about the spears is at the bottom they have like a knife blade at the bottom, the next one along. And you look and you can see that on the breastplate is a white circle. Just a simple white circle on the breastplate. And you can see that even though it's probably an assumption from the mind of this mind you're linked to, is there's 10 of them, there's 100 of them, there's 1,000 of them. And then you see that there's a fortification, like one of the largest fortresses you've ever seen. But in your mind, in the mind of this thing, you notice that this warrior that's trapped in this dog's body, that's one of many fortifications in this wall. The place that you're looking at is enormous. But from the mind of this creature, you also realize that it has no doubt about their indefeatability. They cannot be defeated. They are inviolate, even to the point where the wall it stands upon is perceived by the warrior to almost be unnecessary. And then you realize from your mind link, their minds are linked. You're not just seeing into the mind of the one warrior that's now trapped in this form of a dog. You're seeing what all of them can see. And you suddenly realize that you're in the most complicated linked existence that starts to overwhelm you. Now, you have an option. If you want, you can try and pull out of this link now, or you can try and delve further, but at greater risk. You're on mute, mate.
Keep forgetting. At least once, this time, I will try to push further.
All right. So you know the risk is there, but you let it go deeper. And you see in their shared minds, these things were created but never died until they were destroyed. You can see in their minds, they can remember fighting as humanoids, as another species entirely. You can see in their minds that a god of some form came and formed them into what they are today. They are...
Is this
Yep, go ahead.
when this god came and formed them into assuming the dogs,
Mm-hmm.
did it seem like this was like their next stage, like a natural progression, or was it like malicious, like they're being imprisoned or punished? By being
Okay,
turned into this form?
I'm going to give you an insight roll advantage. That's really quite an astute view. Yep, go ahead. Okay. You can tell in their heart they hate every second of bondage and loyalty, but they have no option. They are the truest of slaves, in the sense that each one of them, while linked, has an individual mind, but They cannot comprehend acting against that which rules them. And the disturbing thought before you make a wisdom saving throw is that the disturbing thing is their rulers before this god came along were far worse morally than what they are now.
So they've been through some shit.
Yeah. But you're sitting in a conglomerate, meta-concerted mind of thousands who are endless. They do not die. They can only be destroyed. And you know in your hearts and minds with their level of confidence, there is not much that can destroy them. All right, so you will need to make a DC 13 wisdom saving throw.
I'm fairly confident I will make this. I naturally get advantage in all wisdom saves.
Okay, you don't want to cast guidance with this? You'll still have that option. Did you... You're not in
Well,
action?
I mean, because guidance only works for ability checks, right?
Oh, that's true. Sorry. Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
Sorry
it
about
does.
that. Yep.
So either way, yeah, I've got
Mhm.
some stuff that can help me, but I
Okay.
think I'll be alright.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm alright.
So you feel this vortex dragging you back, but you resist it and you come forward. It's up to you. Do you withdraw now?
Does it feel like does the danger feel like it's increasing as I keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. I will. I feel fairly confident. I'll keep going.
All right. Ooh, bit of head scratching there. All right. All right. So you pull back from this and you see them, their minds, they were everywhere. Everywhere. And you see citadels of a black glass everywhere. Not just here. Not just on your world, but elsewhere. You can sense their passage through time, thousands of years. You see, like, for the briefest instant, you saw a glimpse of home, but thousands of years ago. And you saw it through the eyes of these things that they still in their minds, they call themselves dog soldiers. They still call themselves dog soldiers. But that's not their name anymore. You see them fighting battles. You can see that other races go ahead of them to fight their battles, and then the tide turns against that force, and then you see these warriors go forward and nothing stands in their way. You see them fighting creatures of incredible power. You can see demons cast against them, devils cast against them, creatures of magical construction, and everything falls in their path.
And in these kind of these battles, does it feel like all of these like every single one of these warriors are all fighting this battle together,
Yeah.
or are they? Okay.
They all know about it, but they're not all necessarily physically there.
Okay.
So what you find is the last thing before you make another DC saving throw is that you have an image of them in a huge courtyard, a huge citadel, and you see what seems to be a humanoid form come out onto a balcony to accept their homage. And you watch this cycle over and over again. But the humanoid is different. Arrayed the same, carrying the same remnants, but it's different. It's a different person. Sometimes it's a woman, sometimes it's a male. It changes. But the thing you notice is the one at their head is the same one every time. That's the first one to bow. And you watch as this courtyard of thousands of their fellows drop to their knee and bow to this figure who obviously is changing over time. Make an insight roll for me. Quick insight
Yeah.
roll. Okay. Even at 10, it's not hard for you to realise that it is not the figure, it's what they have that is the difference, that gives them the power.
Is it a physical item?
You don't know. It's like you're interpreting it through their lens, but it is an item. It's got to be. It's not. It's a... Oh, this is really, really difficult. All right, give me a medicine roll. Given your background, give me a medicine roll.
I might. Can I guide myself?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
Okay.
Probably don't need.
It's something in them that they absorb.
Okay.
It's something that is handed to them, is given to them, but they have to be the right bloodline to accept it. All right, so now you're at a DC 15 wisdom saving throw.
Yep. Yep.
All right. You pull back. It's harder, but you pull back.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not going to go any further.
Okay.
I feel like I've got enough information.
All right.
Yep.
So you pull back and you see, as you do that, the dog looks at you, and you see the frost goes out of its eyes just for this minute, and you see these black eyes with like a vague white pupil look at you with human understanding just for that point, and then the frost reappears. And at that, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if I'm able to with Mage Hand, I just want to maybe give the dog a couple little pats.
Okay, so you're gonna do that with a mage hand, are you? Like pat it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Because it's not because I'm scared of it; it's because it's cold.
Excellent.
That's it.
All right. So you do that, but you see for this briefest moment this. You appreciate this creature is not. It's cursed. It's cursed.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or
I want
form.
to try and just show it some warmth or empathy, just by
Yeah.
not patting it like it is a dog, but just trying to in a more of a
Yeah.
reassuring way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During the time the mind link was occurring, the rest of you were seeing these changes in its form. It would blur a bit and become fuzzy, and you would see like you'd see that at its base of its foot, you would see a large hand, like a much bigger hand. You would see what seems to be in the breeze the billowing of a cape. It was weird. All right. At that point, you see that when the link breaks, the dog leaps, like jumps, like athletically onto the ledge and looks at you. And I wouldn't be Damien. I think you're watching it go back. But Filialis, you look up towards it and you see that the haze, that the whitening of the eyes seems to dissipate slightly. And it like looks at you quite intently and sees you and then indicates into the cave and jumps, leaps up that sort of 8-10 feet to that ledge to guide you in.
Alright.
All right, I think we'll probably leave it there.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of going into the cave or just making a runner so I can be ready for next week? So if you're just going, that would make it a lot easier.
No, we're going in.
You going in?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All
Going in.
right. You're going in. All right.